Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Snazzy Comments, and only the second video on this channel. Yeah, it's going to be weird starting over. I think we had something like 600 videos beforehand, but now we are back to 2, with this being the second. Crazy stuff, I know. Before I begin and read out all your wonderful comments and topic ideas, I just want to say thank you all to everybody that has been showing their support, whether that's on YouTube in the comment section, because there's been so many of you commenting on my videos. Let's hope you all stick around for the future of this channel, and of course everyone on the Discord as well. You've all been absolute superstars with support, advice, and just sticking up for my side of the cause. It doesn't look like we're going to get the channel back at all, but we are going to try again and start over, hopefully make it better than ever. So yeah, also I just want to say thank you to some of the other YouTubers that have, even just people with small channels, have decided to make posts or videos or shorts or announcements to just spread the news and try and get some people back to the new channel. So thank you all to them. But with that out of the way, let's get started on these questions. And boy, there are a lot. I almost regret putting an announcement to remind you all to post a question, because there are so many, but I do enjoy doing this quite a lot, and you get to know a little bit more about me, and I get to know a little bit more about you based on what sort of questions you ask. So let's answer some questions, starting with Mustard Goat. There's 3 questions. Will you be continuing with your old schedule, including the Friday streams and videos you had planned? Maybe. Obviously this is my chance to change things up, but obviously I want to keep it fairly similar to what it was before, because it's still the same channel at the end of the day. I want to run it the same, because you guys were obviously fans of the way things were back then, so I don't want to completely reinvent the wheel. The only reason I stopped Friday streams was because, as many of you may know, from the last few streams I did, I had inconsistent connection and inconsistent power. Kept getting power cuts midway through my live stream and having to start over, which is obviously very awkward, and yeah, so that's why I stopped. I will be resuming those in the near future, though. As for videos I had planned, well, I could kind of start over. I don't know if I had anything new planned anyway. I don't really like making clickbaity sort of videos, but those are the ones that will work. So hopefully we can find a balance between clickbaity and stuff that I actually want to do. But with losing the old channel, I lost all the old videos, so this is my chance to remake old videos, especially the more successful ones, like the mods one. I can do a revisiting the mods video, I can do another Planes I Want in War Thunder video, that sort of thing. So there is some good news. The second question is, if you do by some miracle get your old channel back, what will you do? Well, I don't think we will, for one, but if I do, I might switch back. But well, it's got the fan base, it's got the subscribers, and it's got the pay. But I kind of like this new channel. I like what I've done with it. I think it looks quite good. I like the new banner. I like the new profile icon. But if it does happen, I may. It's, you know, there's no point throwing it away if it comes back to me, but I don't think it will, so there you go. This third question is, what do you think about playing Tank Mechanics Simulator? I got it recently and I've been playing it a lot. I've never played it, but I am familiar with it. That's the one where you dig out tanks from the ground and put them in museums, isn't it? Yeah, it seems kind of interesting, seems kind of fun. I don't know if I'll make videos on it if I do play it, but it seems kind of fun. Batcher MB wants to know, are you going to contact other War Thunder content creators so they can help you grow the new channel? Yes, I am, at least kind of. A lot of them knew me anyway. Like, I'm in a fair few of the War Thunder Discords. I'm in Dark Productions Discord, I'm in Squire's Discord, I'm in Jingles Discord, Flak Alley's Discord, a whole bunch of other people's, and a bunch of people's like smaller channels Discords as well. Yeah, a lot of them know me, even if I don't even introduce myself. Like, I'd hop on a call for, say, a server event, and they would go like, oh my god, it's Snazzy, and stuff like that. So the message is out there, and a lot of them, I suppose some of the bigger ones don't really care, because the bigger YouTube channels for War Thunder don't really do much with the other YouTubers. It's definitely the smaller ones that tend to collaborate. But people do know, and people are doing things to help. Evil Man wants to know, do you need sacrificial rituals of low-level players to get your account back? I like what you're thinking, but I can do you one better. How about sacrificial rituals of high-level players to get my account back? That would be much more effective. Reduce the number of players playing top tier. I think that would be the solution. Very fitting question for your name, though. A feminist liberal health nut wants to know, do you like Azure Lane or Kantai Collection? So if so, what is your favourite character or characters? Yeah, I do. I don't love it because I never really got into it. I think Kantai Collection came first, I want to say. At least the anime did. I think it was mostly riding the success of Girls and Panzer, if I'm going to be honest. And I think I watched it hoping it would be similar to Girls and Panzer. It definitely did help with some of my interest in warships. Not that there is much historical stuff in Kantai Collection, even compared to Girls and Panzer. But I know Azur Lane's more popular, but Kantai Collection is the one I've actually seen. I know Azur Lane has quite a popular game attached to it. But I'll say I prefer Kantai Collection just because that is the one I've seen. I'm not huge on either of them, to be honest, but you know, some of the ship girl designs are kind of cool, I guess. Favorite character, it would probably be either Shimakaze or Congo, because they're pretty cool. I know I had another favorite back in the day, but for the life of me I can't remember what it was. So yeah, I guess Shimakaze or Congo. Roxin wants to know what my opinions on Poland are. Well, I've only been to Poland once, but it was very, very good. It was quite easy with regards to paying for things, because it was quite cheap, at least compared to the UK. So that was good. There were lots of nice things to see in Krakow. There was, you know, a ton of history in Poland, obviously, especially 20th century history, which is my specialty, or at least preference. Krakow had a really cool aviation museum with so many Soviet planes that are just not common in England. Even things like MiG-21s, which are, you know, probably everywhere in Eastern Bloc countries. They're hardly... I've only ever seen... Before going to that museum, I'd only ever seen one MiG-21 in a museum. And I'd seen two more at an air show, and they were Romanian ones that were still in service. After going to that museum, I'd seen like 20 MiG-21s, so it was quite crazy. We also even saw a Yak-17 there, so that was quite a moment. Knowing or my reputation about me and the Yak-17 and the Yak-15. So yeah, Poland was really cool. I'd like to revisit again. The people were friendly. I know a fair few Polish people on Discord. They're always very friendly people, so yeah. Poland is pretty cool. British Snail wants to know what my opinion on unbuttered toast is. Well, I think it's dreadful. Why would you want to ruin your toast? It's like having, I don't know, fries without a sauce, or a soft drink without ice cubes. It's just, yeah, there's no point in having unbuttered toast. You can kind of mask it or make it better with a topping like peanut butter or Nutella or something. But you need to have butter on your toast. Same with sandwiches. It just makes it better. It's probably not a necessity, but it definitely makes it better. An unbuttered toast by itself is one of the most dry things you could be eating. So there you go. A wants to know, do you think Russian bias is real, and what's your opinion on Sweden? So two unrelated questions there. Russian bias, I don't want to say it's real. At least I want to believe it's not real, but we've all had those experiences where you think it is, like whether it's your 17-pounder bouncing off the T-34's driver's hatch, stuff like that. You know, just broken Russian planes like the BB-1, that sort of thing. We've all seen the Russian bias compilations that were everywhere in like the late 2010s kind of thing. Those were the days. I don't know if it is necessarily a real thing, but another example is I was looking through Enlisted the other day, because I've been playing a lot of Enlisted lately, as you guys know. Far too much Enlisted, actually. Would recommend the game. Do try it out. But I was having a look at the vehicle descriptions, and with regards to best fighter plane of World War II, you could make a fair few arguments of different aircraft. But the things that come to mind are things like the Bf-109, the Spitfires, the Zeros, the Hellcat, the Mustang, the Yak-3, that sort of thing. For the Mustang, the P-51D, the in-game description of the Mustang is... the first Mustang variant with a teardrop-shaped canopy. That's all it says. Nothing else. If you go on the in-game description of the Yak-3, it's like, the legendary Yak-3 was widely considered the best fighter of the war. It's like, okay, we know you're Russian developers, but come on, guys. At least, you know, try and make it less obvious. So, yeah, it's hard to judge whether it's real. I like to think it isn't, but we've all had those moments. What's my opinion on Sweden? If we're talking about in War Thunder, I hardly ever play them. They're a good nation. They are a very competitive nation. They have some of the most OP vehicles in the game, tier for tier, like the S-Tanks and many more. Just the S-Tank is the main one that comes to mind. But I've hardly ever played them. It's just, I'm not in a hurry to play them. There's nothing against Sweden. I've played Sweden a fair bit in World of Tanks, so they're very fun in that. Just haven't played it a whole lot in War Thunder. Dart157 wants to know, how do you feel about CAS and its introduction to ground battles. How can Gaijin better balance it to benefit both ground and CAS players? Well, I personally think CAS should be in War Thunder, is in mixed battles. War Thunder's main goal was to try and unite air, land, and sea battles. Obviously, you can't really unite ground and sea battles, but you can unite air and ground and air and sea. And yeah, during World War II and to the present day, having a plane flying about is a major threat to anything on the ground. It's meant to be strong. In fact, it's probably meant to have a better chance of killing you than you are of killing it, even with AAs running around. However, I do understand some frustrations people get, especially if you're in like a heavily armoured tank, you're feeling like a king on the battlefield, and lo and behold, a bomb lands in front of you and you die. Nothing you can do about it. There you go. But I think they are taking some steps. I feel like at least the Western bombs have been nerfed, like the 500 pounder and the 1000 pounder. I swear I have to be way more accurate these days with my bombs. But there you go. But in terms of how it would be balanced, well, first of all, I feel like AAs are definitely more annoying these days than planes are. For me, if I get killed by a plane, it's just like another death. I wouldn't rage if I got killed by another tank. So, at least most of the time. So it doesn't really bother me when I die to a plane. What does bother me is that you spawn in a plane, which are quite expensive with regards to spawn points, and then you immediately get zapped by a verbal wind or something higher up, like one of the Russian ones with the 23 mils. Very, very annoying. I think that's more annoying because you've spawned in something specific, probably with a specific aim in mind, and you've immediately been denied that because there's an AA. Obviously, you can avoid AAs sometimes, but the ways I balance it is either make planes more expensive with regards to spawn points. So maybe they cost, a fully loaded Thunderbolt right now costs like something like 700 spawn points. So maybe if you make it 900 spawn points, there'll be less of them. However, that does also increase the risk of someone spending all their spawn points on a fully loaded Thunderbolt, for example. And if they get knocked out immediately, that's just a player lost for your team, which is no help to anyone. So I guess just limit the number of planes available in the sky, because if there are 4, let's say maximum of 3 or 4, like in Enlisted, you can only have up to 2 planes per team at any given time. So if you do like that on War Thunder, then yeah, that could work, because having too many planes in the sky is not good for the team on the ground. It's also not good for the team in the air, because you're wrestling with each other to try and find the tanks that are still alive. So, yeah, maybe limiting the number you can have at any given time, but I don't think CAS is the biggest problem with War Thunder, and especially with how many freaking AA is War Thunder's adding to the game at the moment. It seems like that is their solution to address it. I Like Bananas wants to know, is the M24 DK, which I think is the Danish Chaffee, any good? Well, it may look slightly visually different, but I believe it is exactly the same to all the other Chaffies in the game, and all the other Chaffies in the game are some of the best light tanks tier for tier, so yes, I assume the M24 DK is very good. Will C. Mac wants to know, what's your least favourite battle rating aside from top tier? That's a tough one. It would probably be bottom tier, because I don't like top tier because for me it's too hard. I don't really understand what's going on. I don't know enough about the vehicles. I don't know all the keybinds for stuff like radar and all that. I'm not as interested in the technology as well. But I don't like bottom tier because it's too easy. And I feel like a player that has been playing the game for 10 years, like me, probably doesn't need to be going back to reserve tier. Now, the fun thing about a game like War Thunder is that you're not constantly feeling the need to only play your best things. You can play what you like. That's the joy of it. And yeah, play what you like. But reserve is probably a bit too low for me, because I don't want to just be putting off new players by slaughtering them. You know, no one wants to start up a new online game and there's someone in the lobby that has like 20 times as many kills as you have, and yeah, it's just not really fun. So I would say bottom tier. Basher Bendor8 wants to know, favourite variant of an aircraft series which is in-game, but the specific variant you like is not. So I think, because it's quite a confusingly worded question, I think what he's asking is what my favourite plane series is in-game where a version I want is not present. So let's say if I would choose the Spitfires, I like the Spitfires, but the Spitfire Mark 12, the first one with the Griffin engine, is not in game, which it should be. It's on my tech tree. So I guess that's what he's asking. There are many variants of planes that should be in game. You could argue not all the changes are major, like in War Thunder's 10, 12-year-old planned release tech trees that they posted years ago, about 10 or 12 years ago. They released a big list of all the planes they plan to add in future. And we only have one B-24 Liberator in the game right now, and it's been that since the Liberator was first added. But they plan to add another 4 or 5 Liberators. Now, do you need 4 or 5 Liberators just for the US tree? Probably not, but that's the kind of copy-paste I like. Like, if you just chuck it in en masse and then folder them, so they're optional skips if you don't want 4 or 5 Liberators. But if you do, because I want more World War II stuff, yes, add 4 or 5 more Liberators. But if I'm going for a specific variant of a plane that's already in game, then I'm going to say the B-17F. It was arguably the most iconic Flying Fortress variant. It was definitely one of the more famous ones, because this is the variant that had things like the Memphis Belle, and took part in the major bombing raids in 1943 and 1944, some of the most famous ones, such as the Schweinfurt-Regensburg raid, and many more. So, yeah, I also say it's the best looking B-17 variant, so it'd be really nice if we got that. For those wondering what the exact differences are, there's not a whole lot in it, but it's basically the B-17G, but without the chin turret. HMS Vanguard wants to know, Snazzy, if you had to grind one of the new battleships in the update, which would it be? I probably wouldn't, because it's still naval. They are cool, but it's naval, so I don't really care. But as I kind of view the US as my main nation to play at the moment, I'd say the Iowa is probably the best looking one as well. So the USS Iowa would be my choice. Crafty wants to know what my top 3 best One Piece girls are, other than Nami and Robin. I don't know if Robin would even make the top 3. Now that's how we start Flame War, but I don't know. She probably would. She might be number 3. I don't really know, because they set the bar so high, and then everyone else I kind of just compare to. Oh no, it would be Boa Hancock. She would be in the top 3, other than those 2. So it would be Hancock, Perona, and Rebecca, I guess. Rebecca's underrated. Everyone chooses Vivi all the time, but I'm more of a Rebecca person. I actually like Dressrosa. I know a lot of people slander it, but I thought it was pretty good. Sharks the 262 enthusiast wants to know what King Tiger variant is your favourite, and it can include paper designs of the King Tiger as well. So, well, they don't really change that much, other than the Tiger 2P and the Tiger 2H, which only changes the turret. There's not a lot of choice either. Favourite King Tiger variants, so you got the Tiger 2P, the H, the 105, and I guess the Yag Tiger, and I guess the GW Tiger. I do like the Yag Tiger, it's quite awesome. Still need to play it properly in War Thunder though. I'm not very good at it yet, and it is stock, so it's slow as all hell. But I guess the Tiger 2 105, it looks kind of cool. It's closer to the sort of Luft 46 technology, and I quite like that, so we're going to go with that. His second question is also Empire or the Rebellion with regards to Star Wars. Well, the Empire, you know, is like the obvious choice. Even though they're the bad guys, they have all the drip, they have the Star Destroyers, they have the TIE Fighters, that sort of thing. The Rebellion does have more of my favourite, well, my absolute favourites. Like the X-Wing is awesome, the Y-Wing is even more awesome, the A-Wing is awesome as well. The E-Wing is awesome. But the Empire has the Death Star and the Acerta Super Star Destroyer, and can I just choose option C and choose the Republic, because that's what I'll choose. Thanatos wants to know, what's your favourite race in the Elder Scrolls? Unfortunately, I haven't actually played any Elder Scrolls games myself. I've only had goes on like Skyrim and Oblivion round other people's houses when I was younger, so I can't really comment. I've seen a couple videos on Skyrim, but I don't know enough about the Elder Scrolls to comment on that one, so sorry Thanatos. The average Swedish main wants to know, what are your plans for the future now that you don't have the channel anymore? Well, I don't think the YouTube channel was ever going to be my career, let's say. It wasn't nearly big enough to do that. I'm no Fly Daily, so yeah, sadly not. But we're here to start again. We're replacing the channel, and hopefully it can become big enough to at least be part-time payment. That's not the only goal I have in mind for that, but it would be nice to get the new channel monetized. Future plans, as far as YouTube's concerned, we're just replacing the old channel with the new one. Armin wants to know, P38 or Corsair? Simple question. I'm going to give you a simple answer. The P38. I just think the Lightning's cooler. It's it's probably in top 3 favourite World War II planes for me. I do love the Lightning. It's very awesome. The Corsair, also very good. Very nice looking plane. Very nice plane in general. Very effective plane. Is one better than the other? Which one had a better impact on the war? Tough question. The Corsair is probably what most people would say. But there's something about the Corsair... It's not that I don't like it, but there's something about the Corsair that it makes it significantly less intimidating or badass about it. I don't know. I would say the Hellcat is a more beefy looking plane. And I do prefer the Hellcat to the Corsair. The post-war Corsairs look intimidating and badass. But the World War II ones, there's something about them that isn't quite there. But they are very nice looking planes. They are very nice planes. So I do like them both, but I'm going to choose the Lightning. I'm Alive wants to know what my opinion on the Object 120 being at 7.3 with APFSDS rounds. Now, that's the Turan. Now, I think the Object 120 had the highest penetration in the game when it first got added, with something like 490 millimeters or something. It was something like that. It had a 152 millimeter long-barreled gun with APFSDS, and it could go through anything. Now, the toughest tanks at the time were the T-64A, the Chieftain Mark 10, and the MBT-70, which doesn't have great armor anyway, but it could kill you. This was the tank that could kill anything in the game. It being moved down, though, I don't know what it was before. It was something like 8.0 or 7.7 or something like that. It being moved down, though, really doesn't change it, though. I don't think... See, this is the problem with War Thunder's idea of buffing and nerfing being just changing the battle ratings. That doesn't really change the way the tank plays, though, or performs. Now, if they change something like the armor levels, or the penetration levels, or the gun handling, or the speed, or something like that, which you could argue being unhistorical, or maybe sometimes they have evidence to back it up, then fine, that's a change to the vehicle. Changing the battle rating isn't going to change the way the vehicle plays. It's not going to make it any more or less overpowered. The Object 120 could let's assume it was a 7.7 beforehand. The Object 120 could already kill anything lower than 7.7. It being moved down to 7.3 isn't going to make it any easier or harder. It can still kill everything, and everything can still kill it. It's one of those unique cases, like with the Archer. When the Archer first got added, it was like 3.3 or 3.7. Now it's 2.7, and it's got moved down because it's basically too awkward to play. You have to turn it round every time you want to fire, it's really slow, and it has no armor. But it also has a 17-pounder gun that could kill anything at 3.7. Moving it down to 2.7, which is quite a big jump, isn't going to make it any easier. In fact, it might just make it harder, because the lower tier tanks that you're fighting now have faster reloads, and they could all kill you anyway. So, and you don't really need a 17-pounder to go through an early Panzer 3 or 4. So, yeah, I don't see the point of why they'd move it down. Thanatos has another question. If you could add any plane, tank, helicopter, and boat into War Thunder, which would it be? I'll leave out the boat because I don't really play Naval, so even though I have preferred boats, just the way War Thunder implements them just somehow makes them less interesting to me. Plane, tanks, and helicopters. Plane would have to be the Starfire. As much as I want jet bombers, I want all jet bombers rather than just one. So, yeah, there's that. Tank, probably either the T-69 or the T-49, aka the T-67. T-67/T-49, whichever one you want to call it, is kind of like a smaller M18 Hellcat. Does the same kind of thing. It's still a tank destroyer with no armor whatsoever, still very fast, still has a fully traversing turret. I think that could be a very cool 4.7 vehicle. The T-69 is kind of like a smaller T-54E1, but with a 90mm. I think that would be really cool. And as for helicopters, well, if they added like a sort of, I don't want to say non-combat mode, but like a AI kind of game mode where you have objectives and you can use utility helicopters rather than just attack helicopters. So you could carry troops into battle, especially if they're thinking about doing some AI infantry stuff in the future. You know, basically have a War Thunder version of Heliborn, then that could open a whole host of interesting helicopters that I would want in game, like the Flying Banana, for example. Waterbongus wants to know, what's your favourite drink? We'll exclude water for obvious reasons. It would have to be Coke Zero. Or close second would be Cherry Pepsi Max. That is the ultimate cinema drink in my eyes. Oh, it's very nice. Although right now I'm drinking some D&B because I couldn't find any root beer, and according to ChatGPT, D&B was the next nearest thing, and it just tastes like fizzy aniseed, and I'm not big on aniseed. But this drink isn't too bad, but it'll have to be Coke Zeros for favourite. Ralph and Schlepper wants to know, what do you think about the 105mm gun T5? A very specific question. I think that's the gun on the T95 and the T29. If it is, it's pretty good. Can annihilate most things. As long as you don't run into some post-war Russian heavy tanks like the IS-4, you're all set. Frank Dux wants to know, why do you think JFK got assassinated? I'm sure there's probably a reason that has already been found out. I personally haven't checked. I don't really know the reasons. I assume it was something to do with the way he was running the country, or his foreign policies with trying to make friends with Russia, I guess. Maybe it was his left-leaning ties, even though he was quite right-leaning for a left-wing president. But I don't know. But the good president is sadly dead too soon, if you ask me. Who knows what would have happened if he wasn't assassinated, but I guess we'll just have to ask Lee Harvey Oswald. So, Thanatos wants to know, if you could change or bring back anything to War Thunder, what would you change or bring back? For example, old stat cards or old mechanics. Well, I'd definitely say the old stat cards should come back. They had so much more personality than what is now. Definitely lost a bit of personality with the new stat cards. The old mechanics, so I don't know if there's an old mechanic I'd want to bring back. I think the game's mechanics are just better now than they were. Like, there was some janky stuff in early War Thunder. See, in my eyes, the way I think old War Thunder is better is just the lack of top tier being modern tech. So if you ask me, then I'd say don't progress into the modern era. But I don't think that counts as a mechanic, so I don't know if there's an old mechanic I'd want to bring back. You'd have to comment what you guys wish to see. Foxtrot wants to know, this is a good one. Have you ever seen a historic film that was so ahistorical or so unrealistic that you face-palmed and stopped watching? Now, I assume some people would associate this with Midway, the newer one, but I wouldn't. It is a bit Hollywood, but it's not actually that unrealistic. So, and I really like that movie, so I'm not going to say Midway. There are some shockers out there. I don't think I've ever stopped watching a movie midway through because of something like that. I want to say Shadow in the Clouds, but it's not really a historical movie. It's just set in World War II. It's definitely not a true story, that's for sure. For those that don't know what Shadow in the Clouds is, you've probably seen the clip of it. It's you've got Chloe Grace Moretz, who plays Hit Girl in Kick-Ass, and she falls out of a B-17 as a Zero is being shot down below the B-17, and as she falls out, the explosion of the Zero pushes her back up into the plane so she doesn't fall to her death. That movie, oh my god, I've got to watch it with you guys. It is it was it was quite an experience. Last time I watched it with my friends, and we were like taking, I don't know if it was a full shot, but we're playing a drinking game to the movie. I had some form of spirit drink with me, and the rule was you had to drink every time you saw something that didn't make sense or just made you question what you were watching. And about half an hour in, I couldn't remember what was going on 5 minutes ago. It got that bad, which is kind of a shame because I wanted to see my friend's reaction to the movie, because I was the one showing it to them, but I just don't remember the second half of the whole film at all, because it was just got that ridiculous. Sour Chili wants to know my opinion on niche early 2000s World War II flight games like Blazing Angels 2 and Secret Weapons over Normandy. I've never played the second one, but I did play both Blazing Angels games. I would like to see another one, which is probably not going to happen. But, yeah, Blazing Angels was very good. I had it on the Wii, had Blazing Angels 2 on the Xbox 360. It was even better. Some of the best games I played at the time. I don't know if I'd still enjoy them as much now, but Blazing Angels 2 especially had an amazing soundtrack, good graphics for the time, and really fun co-op multiplayer. So that was nice. Haven't played many of the other early 2000s games, which I guess would include the first Call of Duties, Medal of Honor, Company of Heroes, but those aren't really flight games. I did play IL-2 Birds of Prey on the Xbox before I got into War Thunder, and that was really good actually. I don't know if the controls are necessarily great on a Xbox controller, and I wish there was a version or the same version available on PC with like War Thunder controls, because there are bits I miss about that. Like the damage model, for one. I've said this 1,000 times. I wish the damage model on IL-2 transferred over to War Thunder, because it does just look better. Like you can, there's a lot more to it, basically. But IL-2 was, the version I played was very fun. Ripley Vitamins wants to know what the Snazzenheimer's opinion on the Lockheed XF90 is. I do like it. It should be in the game. That would be an amazing event vehicle. If the next plane event, which should be fairly soon, was the XF90, oh my god, I might faint. I even wrote my story for my dissertation, my creative writing dissertation, was about the XF90. Well, it wasn't necessarily a true story, but it was about the inventor, or a fictional inventor slash designer, who created a plane that was the XF90. Crafty wants to know what's the best capital ship and starfighter from Star Wars. Capital ship, the Venator, easily. It's my favourite one, at least. Style points, I'm a Clone Wars fanboy. At least of that era of Star Wars, it's my favourite. I do love the Venators, the Battle of Coruscant, the start of Revenge of the Sith. Oh, it's eye candy. Starfighter would be the Rebel Y-Wing, which is not the common choice. Some people slander it. Some people even say it's ugly. I was like, what? The Y-Wing is ugly? Come on, guys. Yeah, it would have to be the Venator. His bonus question is, what's the best CIS droid? Which I did respond with GIFs in Discord, but it would have to be one of the spider droids, whether that's the dwarf spider droid or the big spider droid. They're cool. I like them. They're fun. Darren wants to know, what kind of cars do you like, if any? I do like cars. I'm not a petrol head, so, you know, it's a bit like asking what sort of PC I have. I just say I have a gaming PC. I don't know what's in it, but it runs and it plays games. That'll kind of be the same when I get a car. I will not be telling you all the ins and outs of engine specs, because I don't really care. And when people start telling me about the ins and outs of their engine specs, I kind of lose interest. It's different when it's about tanks and planes, but even then I have limits with how much engine torque I can survive. But kind of cars I like if I had a dream car, it'd be like some massive 70s or even 60s American car. Like whether that's a Dodge Charger, like the old one that you see, or I think it's called the Ford Galaxy 500 or something. That thing, the sort of car that's so wide and impractical, at least for UK roads, like it wobbles when you turn a curve, or that sort of thing. Those are my kind of cars. Jeff Jefferson wants to know, where does your username and channel name come from? Well, because I think I answered this on a previous episode, but that video no longer exists because it was tied to the old channel. So I may as well go over it again. It started on the Xbox 360. I was given a default Xbox username called StramaticWave62. And then I went through a phase after finding out you could change it, of changing it many, many times, using up all the free changes you got until you had to start paying. It changed to the Super Comet at one point, and then the Centurion, so you could tell I'd been playing World of Tanks at this point, because I didn't really know anything about tanks before World of Tanks. And then eventually it landed on the TheSnazzyComet. I don't really know why I chose Snazzy. I think I just thought it was a funny word, and for a while I claimed it to be my favourite word, and I guess the Comet is one of the best looking tanks, and Snazzy means stylish or attractive, so the TheSnazzyComet, yeah. And we've kind of kept some variation of Snazzy ever since. Evil Man wants to know, what would you change to add to this new horrible update other than the leaking bugs? Which kind of vehicles? What kind of map you want to see and stuff? Just overall things that you believe could have made this update far better. Well, the update was, at the end of the day, focused on the new big boats, and they have added the new big boats seemingly without issue. However, as people that most of the big players don't play Naval, there's not a lot left unless you play top tier and are really interested in AAs, which also is not a massive audience. So if there was just more stuff overall, because there was a shocking amount of World War II pre-war and post-war content this update, there was 0 American tanks or planes for that era. In fact, there were no American planes or no British planes in the whole update, and considering those are my 2 main nations, and the 2 nations I've made use the tech trees on, nothing from either of them. That was quite disappointing, so I would say add more of that. Lost Piloto wants to know, which obscure plane from minor nations would you like to play in War Thunder? Would I like to play? I don't know. That's a tough one. And which ones do I like to play in general? That's really hard. There's not much that brings me to France, that's for sure. Italy, there's a couple, but I'm not that fast. If we're talking about which ones I'd like to see, then I'd like to see more post-war French jets, like the Mirage 1. I think that thing's adorable. So we'll say the Mirage 1, even though it's not in game yet. I would like to see it. Sam Tex wants to know, he has a similar question, what is your favourite Italian tech tree prop plane? I think, if I can remember the name properly, the C205 Series 3, I think. I do like that. That is a good aircraft. Good, solid, all-round plane. Have a lot of respect for it. It's pretty good. It's not my favourite 4.3 or 4.7 aircraft, but it is a good one as far as Italians go. Foxtrot has a question. What is your favourite Hawker Hunter variant? I'm pretty flexible, but I think the two-seater ones look better. Why is your War Thunder in metric except for speed? I think it's just what I'm used to. I mean, in the UK, we usually use miles an hour instead of kilometres an hour. Don't know why. But as for distance, it varies, because most cars say either they have both variants. They have like 10 miles or 16 kilometers on the sat nav. But I don't know why I have kilometers, but also miles an hour. I also have altitude in meters, but they're just the ones I'm more familiar with. I can roughly picture how fast a 400 mile an hour plane is, but if you told me its speed in kilometers an hour, I'd have to think more, I guess. So I think it's just more what I'm used to. Like, when some people, like, as this usually happens a lot in, like, the War Thunder servers, where you do, like, a custom event with a Discord server, and you're forming up with your squad leader in a historical event, and they're like, alright, we're going to climb to 21,000 feet, I don't know, 400 kilometers an hour. I'm like, what does that mean? Well, what is that in miles an hour and meters? Oh, God forbid you're one of the people that uses knots as your speed. Please don't use knots. We're not in the frickin' Navy, and we are not in the early 20th century either. So, yeah, use real measurement units, please. Third question is, do you plan on doing something like History of a Vehicle or a Vehicle's Family, where you play a few vehicles from family, could do Shermans or Mustangs? Yeah, it's an idea. I mean, now that the channel is new, and I can start again, and I can sort of change the sort of videos you can be used to. Yeah, it's definitely an idea. And finally, he wants to ask, what do you think about the cool and unique aircraft that are just sitting on the fire, such as the high-altitude Spitfire with the pointed wings, and the Western Welkin? The F-89D, which is listed, is already in the game, and I already own it, so that's not in the files. But as for the other two, yes, it would be nice to see them in the game, but the problem is they've been in the game for so long that I'm kind of over getting excited for them. They are both in my user tech tree, so it would be nice to see them, but they're no longer at the top of my list, I guess. Poison Enjoyer says, here's one for your Snazzy, since you're a fellow Brit like me and Joseph. What's your favourite all-time British aircraft? It would probably be a Griffin Spitfire. I know there's Merlin purists, but the Griffin sounds better, looks better, and is faster. So I'm going to go with the Griffin Spitfires. I don't really mind which one, but for simplicity's sake, we'll say the Mark 24. If not, then I'm going to choose an underrated plane, the Javelin. I really like the Javelin. That is a nice looking bit of kit. So yeah, I'll say the Javelin. Thatcher MB wants to know, how do you see yourself in the future? I don't know. And his second question is, which battle of World War II do you think is the most interesting? Now, this is... Well, you got to be careful with how you answer it, because obviously he's not asking what's the best battle, because I don't really know how you can judge a battle for being the best. But you also can't discredit those involved in the battles by saying one is more interesting than the other. Obviously, I'm sure there are many interesting stories from every battle of World War II. But which one am I most interested in? I don't really know. That's a really tough one. There's so many to choose from. I think I'm not going to say something too mainstream like D-Day or Stalingrad, because those are like the big ones, if you will. I think the one I'm most interested in would be Guadalcanal, the Battle of Guadalcanal, because it's the US's first major victory over the Japanese, at least land-wise. It basically cancelled Japan's plan for invading Australia. It lasted something like 7 months, which is crazy long for how big the island is. I mean, the island isn't much bigger than the Isle of Wight, if it's that big at all. And it lasted 7 months long, and that kind of just set the stage for the whole of the Pacific campaign. Especially stuff with the airfield. It's really interesting looking into that, because the airfield called Henderson Field, it was originally American, then got took over by the Japanese, and then it was retaken again, and then it went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth again and again and again throughout the whole campaign. And you had these poor, predominantly Marine, but I think some Navy and some Army pilots using the planes on the airfield, constantly being under attack. If you watch the movie, it's not the most historically accurate movie, but it is quite a good movie, The Thin Red Line, which covers Guadalcanal loosely. There are some scenes of Henderson Field, and you can literally see, like, some of the battles around it were literal cases of Japanese running onto the airfield where there are Wildcats and Aerocobras parked. Literally battles around the planes like it was a map out of something like Battlefield or Enlisted. So, yeah, it's interesting stuff. So I'd say the Guadalcanal campaign, it's also really interesting. And Navy-wise, it's the first US major defeat in World War II. It was a massive learning curve for the US Navy there. But after that, they got their act together and they basically didn't lose a major battle afterwards. So, yeah, interesting stuff. I do like the Pacific campaign overall. I think it's very interesting. It's not appreciated enough. And I think I'll choose the Guadalcanal campaign. Jedi Ragerben says, asks, what is your favorite gun in War Thunder and in real life? Favorite gun in War Thunder? Like tank cannon wise? Oh god. The 85mm that the Russians get is pretty good. The 122, the Sherman 76 M1 cannon, pretty solid. The 90mm M3, very nice. I don't know if I have a favourite gun though, in War Thunder though. Favourite gun in real life? I mean, not that I own any, but I do like the M1 carbine. That would probably be my favourite World War II gun. If you could expand it and say the M2 carbine, then yeah, we'll say the M2 carbine. Joseph 2000 asks, if you had control of Gaijin Entertainment for a week, what would you fix within that time? Right. Now, I think this one was asked last time as well, but again, the channel was gone and so was the video, so we'll answer it again. If I had control of all of Gaijin, and this is assuming that whatever I decide to do will happen, I would say something like get rid of top tier or change what top tier is, but that removes a large portion of the player base because there are some people that only play War Thunder for the modern planes and the modern tanks. I don't think that's what War Thunder is, but to them it is. So I can't really just get rid of them. I would say add all the vehicles I want, or at least make a roadmap that we're going to stick to that will add all the vehicles I want. So that's the planes from the US tech tree, the UK tech tree, hypothetically a Russian tech tree, and all the other tech trees. Add more old technology, like the World War II, post-war, that sort of stuff. Planes, tanks, all of that. Massively revamp Naval, although I'm quite happy not just not playing Naval. If you enjoy Naval, then that's good for you, but I don't need to play a third game mode in War Thunder. So I just say it's mostly, that's the main thing I want in War Thunder, just more old tech, and maybe add some more Pacific air maps or just ocean-based air maps, because there are hardly any, and when you do get them, they are so hard to come across in the map rotation. So those would be my big Gaijin grand plans. Lufthansa 747 wants to know, what is your favourite commercial aircraft? And do you have any pets? Commercial aircraft? I'm not a big civilian aircraft guy. I mean, the plane's a plane at the end of the day, so it's pretty cool, but the military ones are always going to be cooler, if you ask me. I do, however, like the early airliners, like the 1950 stuff like the Viscount, the Britannia, the Constellation, the 707, the DC-8, the Convair 990, that sort of thing. The list goes on and on. The de Havilland Comet, but few have quite the grace and glory and beauty that the Super Constellation has. So I'm going to say the Super Constellation. As for any pets, yes, I do have two. I have two doggos. One which is cuter than the other. Hopefully they don't hear this. Technically they're not mine, they're my parents', but I have two doggos. Thanatos has another question. If Gaijin continues the trend of making 3 tank packs, what tanks do you think the remaining countries will get? Okay, so this isn't necessarily what I want, it's just predicting what will be next. Because they probably will. I mean, they started off with like 1 or 2 top tier premiums, and then now every nation's got a top tier premium. So, okay, so what is left? I mean, Russia, America, Germany, and Britain all have one. They're not necessarily the same battle ratings, but they're going to be between 4.7 and 5.7. I imagine the Japanese will get the Cheeto, which is a good tank, fair enough, but they've got to come up with a new premium Cheeto. Right. Yeah, considering the Cheeto wasn't used in combat, I believe. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I don't know what else would be in it, though, because, well, it would. They've got to fit a theme, and I think the battle ratings of the Japanese tanks would be too varied. They can't put an easy 8 in it, because that's, first of all, that's 5.7, and it's post-war. So what else would they have? Like the NATO, maybe? But that's like 3.3, so I don't really know if anyone would actually want to buy this bundle if I'm the one designing it. The Italians, I don't know. But I'd rather not just think about it, sorry, because it is just boring. It is boring copy-paste, and the ones for the leftover nations are going to be even more bland than usual. Lufthansa747 says, do you play any sports? No, not really. I try to keep myself fit enough, but I'm not really a sports guy, especially watching sports. I find it dull as dishwater. Like watching football on the TV. Oh, God. It's like watching paint dry. F1 is like paint drying. Cricket is especially boring. So is tennis. I'm not a fan. Sports on the Wii, if that counts, really fun. Normal sports, yeah, it's a bit bland. Batcher MB has another question. What is your favourite Pokemon? Flygon. It would be Flygon. Cool little bug dragon dude, even though it's not a bug type, but whatever. Yeah, although for me, Pokemon has fallen off. I don't think I've been excited about a new Pokemon game since Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. That was the last new Pokemon game I played, and I did like it. And I find X and Y to be okay. Black and White 2 are really good. Black and White 1 are good. Heart Gold, Soul Silver are good. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, very good. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, my favourites. Yeah, I'm a Gen 3 guy. And the ones before are also very good. But the later ones, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, just look ugly. I don't think the 3D worlds fit Pokemon very well. The 3D sprites are ugly. The graphics are atrocious for like a modern day game. And it's buggy, and it's too easy apparently. The Pokemon designs are horrible for me. I just don't like the new ones. But that's not the question. The question was my favourite one, so yeah, it'd be Flygon. Howen wants to know, or Haywin, do you have a car? What is Dream Car? Well, we kind of answered what the Dream Car was earlier. I don't have a car. I have a driving license, but I don't have a car, because I went to university, and it would be way too expensive to fund both at the same time. Fame has a question. What is your opinion on the Polish annexation of Zaolzie in 1938? And do you think Poland should be added to War Thunder as its own nation? As for your first question, not a clue. I don't even know what that is. So you tell me, Fame, what is your opinion on the Polish annexation of Zaolzie, if I'm even pronouncing that right? As for whether Poland should be added to the game, maybe. They're probably the country that's got the best chance with regards to unique tech. Either that or Czechoslovakia, because then we could finally give that guy on Instagram a break. But if they do it properly, please. Like, actually try your best to fill it with unique vehicles. If War Thunder does it, I can always picture exactly what it will be. You'll get a 7 TP at low tier. Actually, they'll probably just add it as a line, which will piss everyone off, because I don't think the Polish want to be tied to Russia. Russia's tree's big enough to not need a Polish line anyway. I don't know who they would add it to, but tanks you'd see a 7 TP, and then a like 2 T-34 85 variants, then just T-54s, T-55s, T-62s, T-72s, MiG-21s, MiG-15s. It will just be stuff you've seen already. So if they actually do it properly and push their boat out a little bit more, then you could probably make a decent Polish tech tree. But with the way War Thunder is at the moment, if they add Poland to the game, it will be really boring. So Mr. Panzer asks, is Snazzy ballin'? Hell yeah, I'm ballin'. Evil Man asks again, thoughts on the Renault Twingo 1? I'll have to look up what that is, because I can't remember what it looks like, but let me just quickly look up the Renault Twingo 1, and it is horrible to look at. It is exactly what I don't like about early 2000s cars, or late 90s cars. They're all very curvy. Designers insist on this new sort of trend of curvy cars. They did it with the Ford KA, the newer VW Beetle, like the old Ford Fiesta, and that sort of thing. Then they all look ugly, man. This curvy style of the early 2000s is just horrible to look at. And unfortunately, the Renault Twingo for me is no different. It just looks like a kid's, like a little girl's shoe. That's what the Renault Twingo looks like. Swerve Nafo wants to know, this might have been asked already, but if you had the power to delete one current War Thunder vehicle already, utterly and forever, which vehicle would it be? Now, one vehicle would not remove all of top tier, so it's going to have to be something toxic and disgusting that I despise around the mid tiers. I'm tempted to say the XP50, because that would make a lot of people happy, and it's ugly as all hell. Even though it's from the era of planes I like, it's ugly as all hell. So I don't like it that much. We only like the nice looking planes. But if I had to choose, I would say something like the Becan, that Swedish SPG with the autoloader, because it's ugly, it ruins the immersion. It's basically a modern day vehicle fighting against World War II tanks. I don't like that. And it's got like a 2-second reload, and it's stupid. So I hate it. So that would be my answer. Necron9075 wants to know, biggest thing you would change about War Thunder as it is, both update-wise and gameplay-wise? I would, well, we've kind of answered this already. I would shift the focus of what is being added. I'd focus on more mid-tier content. That would be the biggest thing I change, rather than just adding or slowly pushing the top tier higher and higher. That would be my answer. Batcher MB also asked, do you want other types of vehicles in War Thunder? Vehicles as transport aircraft, recon tanks, vehicles support tanks, engineer tanks. If you want them, how would you implement them? I don't know if we need more tank variants in the game, because we kind of have enough as is. I mean, we've got light tanks, medium tanks, heavy tanks, main battle tanks, which are kind of medium tanks, tank destroyers, and SPAAs. And you have to ask yourself, does anyone really want to be driving around as an engineer tank, just fixing people? I don't know. Plus, how would that even work? You just drive near a damaged tank and, I don't know, you can repair them faster. Recon tanks are kind of already in the game, and the maps aren't designed around dedicated recon vehicles. Like, so take the Ferret armoured car. It's a good little armoured car, but it's going to do nothing in a War Thunder game. So, yeah. As for transport aircraft and recon aircraft, yes. If there is a new game mode, because a Dakota's not going to do anything in a PvP environment, but you can do a lot with, say, different single missions. Let's say there's a tech tree. I've always wanted a tech tree entirely dedicated to transport vehicles. Like, you could have the Dakota, the Boxcar, the Skymaster, that sort of thing. All those good transport aircraft would be awesome. Same with Recon. Recon might have a place in normal games. I'm not sure what it would be exactly off the top of my head, but yes, in short, I would like more aircraft types and more helicopter types. Recon tanks and more tank types, I'm not necessarily sure if I would want that. Oriel KN10 wants to know, did you ever get a nuke in War Thunder? Yes, I've got 3 technically. 2 of them were in the M18. I can't remember what the third one was. It was technically the second one I got. One was in the M18 on the Sands of Sinai map. That was the first one I ever got. Second one, I can't remember. All I remember is that I got the nuke, but I didn't get to the battlefield in time to drop it. But I think that still counts. And the third one, I got... you can actually see the game in the last video I did. The first video on the channel called TheSnazzyComet got hacked, but now I'm back. The gameplay you see of the tank match was the second nuke I officially got to drop in War Thunder. Also in an M18, the new Hell on Wheels M18. So, there you go. And that brings us to the end of all of our wonderful questions. So thank you all to everybody for putting all the messages. Remember to drop your comments and questions for next week's. We're going to try and do one of these every week if I can. So yeah. And again, thank you all to everyone for you know, writing all the kind words. Continue to support the channel. I need your help. So liking the channel definitely helps beat the algorithm and helps kickstart the channel. Obviously, if you're new, subscribe. And continue to comment what you'd like me to talk about next time, because there's, like I said, there's no limitations on what you can ask me, as you can probably have worked out based on the comments that I've been reading out in this video. I will continue to do more content, so you have more things to look forward to this week. Hopefully another War Thunder video, maybe even another Enlisted video, we'll have to see on that. But just stay tuned for more content. We're going to get this channel big and ready. So stay tuned for more, and I'll catch you all in the next one.